Okay, amazing. So now we are broadcasting for all the people that will join later, or you guys after can also check the whole open space. So give me 1 second to share my screen and we can start. Amazing. So, hello everyone. First of all, my name is Alessio. I'm the current CVP CXP, CXO slash Team Leader of Operations Department, any of the next work, 1819 of AIESEC in Italy. And today I'm going to be hosting the open space for all the people interested in applying for MC 1920. So mainly what is going to happen, to tell you a bit of how are we going to go through the space. I will start first to give a very brief introduction about the current CXP department, so who is the people involved in the sub team inside the national office, and then I'm gonna explain you which are the main topics that we are gonna go through. Basically, what we are going to talk about today is a bit of the general scope of ISEC in Italy in terms of operations since we started our term. So we are gonna go first with what was winter peak for ISEC in Italy in terms of operations and which were the main learnings and outputs that we took from that first peak based on the plan and the way that we decided to manage the products in the very first semester. And then after that, we are gonna go through until the current state, meaning I will also walk you through what is going to happen next or what is ahead for this semester, meaning the summer peak for a second in terms of operations. So we are going to go through the plans, the timelines, and which are like the main product strategies that we're going to run. So you can also have like the current perspective of which is the direction that entity is taking for the operations department for the next 6 months. Then I also gonna just remind you some useful information that I strongly suggest you to check based on all the in the hub that we are uploading for you guys in the applicants group. And then throughout the whole presentation, I will also be showing you a bit some specific materials in which I will not go so in deep or in details because then it will take forever or quite a long time. But just for you to have also a general perspective of the specific topics that I'm going to tackle throughout the open space. And then later on, you can go and um, check those specific materials in the hub as I was mentioning to you before. Okay, amazing. So to start, first of all, just for you to have a current point of information, uh, just a parenthesis for the person that has the microphone on, if you can turn it off because we can hear everything, will be amazing. Thank you so much. So first of all, just to tell you as point of information, and also you can later on approach all the people that is part of the current operations department. So this is the current CXP team of ISEC in Italy. So basically how it's divided, that is the team lead of operations, that is me, and then we have three product heads, or MCPIGB, OGB, and OGE, and OGT. Here you can see their names, their emails, and their phone contact information. We are also going to share the presentation of the open space, so don't worry. And then also we have the marketing MC members also as part of the whole operations department. So the department itself, it's together with operations, so we are all just one. So we have two marketing positions currently. We have MCP2C that is managing all the marketing strategy from local perspective on the ground, also with UR management and all the network management that it comes with the entities. And then we have a position also of MC Digital Marketing, which is also supporting the marketing strategy, but entirely from the online perspective and how all the online infrastructure, social media, website, uh, ads management, promotion, Google Ads, analytics, all the digital tools and strategy that we can set in place to boost the marketing attraction for this term for the ongoing products mainly. So just a first point also of clarification in case there is people that is not from the entity right now, that we do not manage specific positions for of marketing for ICX. So mainly the two marketing positions that I just talked about briefly are directly working in synergy with OGX. So it's basically, let's say, marketing for OGX. So this is like the current CXP team. So if you have any doubts, and you can approach them later and throughout all of this application process. And also, I strongly suggest you that for some specific topics that I will mention by the end of the open space, you approach them directly, so you can also get the perspective from their side as direct product heads or marketing heads of the entity. So with that being said, very, very briefly, we are going to start with the open space. So the first thing that, as I was mentioning to you, we are going to go through the semester review of MC Drums. So mainly we are going to talk about the winter peak of AIESEC in Italy. And the file of the semester review is already on the hub that we posted for you guys. So you can go there and check it. How the first semester went in terms of operations. So to start, give me one second. I'm gonna open the file. This the semester review of the first term of sorry, the first semester of the MC term. So I'm gonna start giving you just an overall perspective of the entity and how it went in terms of operations. So in the first semester, as I said in Italy, in terms of approval, realization, and complete, we achieved 70%, 75% of our goal of approvals, ended up in rank 2 in Europe as a region and top 12 or rank 12 globally, with a growth compared to the previous term of 14%. Then in terms of realizations, we grew only 0.6% compared to last term, and then we achieved 73% of the semester goal of realizations, meaning that we were top 3 and top 12, top 3 in Europe and top 12 globally again. And then in terms of complete, we grew 1% and we achieved 77% of the semester goal, and then ending in top 4 Europe and top 16 globally. Just a very general perspective of how was the overall performance of the entity. And then what is going to happen now is we are going to go by product, understanding mainly how was the performance, and then I will go deeply in talking about which were the main product strategy that we were running and how much successful, let's say, was the product strategy in terms of the learnings and the main key points that we gained uh, throughout the first semester by each one of the products. So let's start first with IGV. So first thing, of course, IGV is the product that runs the highest volume of exchanges in our entity. In terms of performance of the first semester, as you can see here in the presentation, and taking the funnel starting from sales for the product, we achieved 61% of our goal of openings, 69% of approvals, 71 of realizations, and 68 of complete. As you can see, we grew in terms of approvals and realization, specifically talking about the product, but we had a small drop in terms of openings, so meaning sales. And I will go deeply a bit about exactly why the main reasons of why this happened in the first semester for the product. Um, and in terms of complete, basically we didn't grow neither drop, so it was like a stagnation point for the product itself. So starting with the main product strategies, we have divided our product strategy for RGB into main, let's say, scopes. The first one is about how, when we started the term, we decided on how we could open more the funnel. So we wanted to focus, of course, number of openings that we wanted to have for the first. And the second part is how to improve and leverage up the product management itself. So all the part that comes after selling and opening the opportunities, that is basically EP management and IR management, to make sure that we are gonna be able to cover all the opportunities on time. So to start giving you a bit of context before I go through the products, how does it work here in AIESEC in Italy is that for the ones who don't know, we manage all of our strategy in our plan in 4DX based. So what is going to happen is I'm gonna walk you through the main, let's say, pillars of the strategy, of the product strategy for each area. That is basically the main pillars or battles that we are deciding to run for the product. And then I'm gonna share at the end all the general learnings and conclusions for each one of the products. So I'm not gonna stop so deeply in each, let's say, strategy, but in the part of conclusions and learnings, I will give you the overall of what happened with the product in terms of all of the strategies that we were implementing, just for you also to be to have as a point of information. So yeah, coming back, so this was the general performance of IGV. One thing to be very important to have in mind for IGV FISC in Italy for winter peak, we manage both the high peak, let's say, and also the off peak in the product. So we have the peaks of off peak, let's say, or the huge off peak that we run in the entity in the months of October, and the high peak of realizations for the winter peak in the months of January and February. In that sense, that doesn't mean that we do not run realizations. For example, in December, yes, we do, but it's a less volume, of course, for the product in the entity. And why is this important to understand? Because it means that as we are running off peak and high peak in the winter peak, let's say, it means that we are constantly working in all the measures of the funnel of IGV in different of the whole semester to deliver both peaks. And of course, this is one of the let's say main challenges that we have in the product to ensure that we are constantly time both off peak and high peak. So this is important also for you to take in consideration of approvals. The high peak of winter peak it's in November, and for off peak it goes from August, September to deliver the first peak of realizations in October. Just as a for you to be aware about the timeline, you will see later on in the presentation, but also in the information hub that we prepare for you guys. So starting with the first part of the product strategy, or the main pillar that, as I was saying to you for IGV, was about openings and how we could be able to open the to enlarge being able to have more openings, more opportunities, but also on time, meaning that we open them by the time that we knew that we wanted them to approve them all. So we were going to also in terms of supply and demand, so we could also find the supply necessary for the opportunities, and we managed to cover 100% of the opportunities that we were opening. So in this sense, one of the main things that happened in the first semester with the sales strategy is that we faced some quite challenges in the intensity of the sales itself. Why? Because for you to understand, during winter peak, the main national project that we run as AIESEC in Italy, it's called EduChange. So it's basically a project about SDG number 4, quality education, the scope of that SDG, and basically in the country. And what happened is that until the previous winter peak, we were always counting with an endorsement, let's say, or yes, an endorsement from the government, from one of the ministries here in Italy, to endorse and to send communications to all the ministries endorsing as organization. Something that happened in this first semester for winter peak for the projects, that we had the challenge of not having that endorsement for that moment, for that year. So of course, what happened is that in all of our sales strategy, we needed to diversify from which other channels we could actually get the attraction and the neighbors, and do the promotion and do the whole sales process in order to be able to achieve the goal. So in general, there were also challenges in terms of implementation and local level that I will go deeply more a bit later on. But that's the main reason, for example, as one of the main outcomes of this part of the product strategy regarding IGV was a small drop in terms of openings. Okay, so just to start, also to give you a general perspective about sales here in Italy with IGV, mainly we run five main projects that are EduChange. That was the first one that I was talking to you about. That is from with the schools about SDG number 4. And then we have the other projects that are Integrate, Help to Help, Make It, and Cultural Summer. Integrate, it's or tackles the issue or works with refugees or with NGOs here in Italy that are working with the with this population about refugees. And then we have Help to Help that is also targeted for for NGOs as neighbors, and then it can have different scopes regarding the neighbor and also the that we can do with the possible partner. And then we have Cultural Summer that is basically run in summer camps here, to camps during summer, as the name says. And then we have Make It, that is one of the most recent projects that we created, that is basically to tackle food consumption. So also it's a project that tackles how we can have a better food management in general through the scope of the project with the neighbors that are tackling this issue. Either can be food banks or can be organizations, NGOs that work with food management in general. And one of the main things that also it's good to take consideration is that most of our results for winter peak in terms of sales, they come from resales, meaning that are old enablers that already had a project with us and we are reselling the opportunity with them, of course. So it means that it is highly important to have a good CRM and partner enabler management for us, because that's the main contributor still for our sales that we do, of course, every sales peak, let's say. And as you can see, the main higher project, like the main project contributor for the winter peak, as I was saying to you, is EduChange. So it's the biggest one that we run for that peak. And as you can see, was the one who, of course, we sold the most and we had the most realizations coming from. So what happened with the first semester of sales is that we decided to focus in two main things. The first one is how could we make sure that we were going to build the capacity in our LCs to start pulling up the timeline, so be on time with the opportunities, not only for winter peak, but also for summer peak. So what happened is that we push a lot to build the capacity in terms of sales education, and also working synergy with OT to deliver all the service, supporting system service on time, about consultancy, yes, as I was saying, education to the network, follow up, visits in case, or specific strategies that we were pushing in order to being able to be on top of the timeline. So mainly the main challenges that we face with pulling up the timeline, because as you can see, we already wanted to make the entities have opportunities during winter, also for summer, is that we didn't have so much in consideration the external factors of the context of the organization of the membership during the period of time, where it's different factors that can just let's say affect the local working routine. So it was quite challenging to manage to have the execution and the implementation on time of this first focus. So we were planning to push the entities to open the opportunities, but not all of them managed to have it on time, and not in neither there was an entity that managed to open the amount of opportunities that we're planning to do. But this was like one of the main things, let's say, that was driving the sales strategy, specifically when it comes to network implementation. Then I will go, as I was saying to you, deeply in the Merlanis at the end. And then also in terms of sales for IGV, we one of the main things that for you also to be aware is that in the how does it work, the synergy at the MC level, is that in the ER department we have one ER director or PD director that is directly working synergies with IGV in order to have national sales, so direct sales that we can do from national side to national partners or big enablers here in Italy, that can give directly results to the product. So one of the things that we also push a lot during winter peak is to having a goal of how many opportunities we wanted to open with national partners, specifically for integrate. That was the period that I was mentioning you guys before about working with refugees, because we have some institutions here in Italy that work with these kind of projects, or networks of institutions that are coordinating initiatives around this topic that we really could capitalize on. So we were pushing this a lot. We managed to open 163 opportunities out of 200. That was the goal. So let's say that the contribution from national side was quite considerable in this sense, based on the goal that we were having. Um, so this is one of the main things that we also are working from national side, that we still continue for this semester as a bit of going ahead. So this is an important synergy that we have from MC side, in order to also support and boost sales for IGV. And then we also had another, let's say, main focus or strategy working in synergy again with the art. That was how could we build new partnerships at national level that could be able not only to open directly opportunities, but also to facilitate or to support some initiatives also at local level in some entities. So basically, we were working a lot on building new partnerships. We wanted to build 5 new partnerships, and you can see here which are the kind of institutions here, Italian institutions that we were working with. So if you want to search later on about them, you can do it. And basically, we managed to send different proposals to start negotiations with this new partnership, but none of them were closed in the, let's say, timeline scope of winter peak or the first 6 months. Okay, so for you to be aware of like the main victories, problems, and let's say bottlenecks and learnings that we got in the first semester regarding sales of IGV, is that okay, from starting from the victories, that we managed to start the timeline shift. So we pull up all the timeline for IGV for winter peak, starting from sales, so by when we were having the opportunities open, and also approvals. So we managed to move, compared to the 17-18 winter peak of IGV, the peak of approvals entirely to November, because in the previous term was a lot in December and in January, because there was some delays with opening the opportunities, of course. So we managed to move entirely the peak to November, meaning that by November, by the beginning of November latest, we were able to have all the opportunities open for realizations in January, February, and lastly March. So we already had all the opportunities open, so we were able to push a lot all the peak of approvals. So it was one of the main things. And we developed a new, let's say, education strategy with new sales materials. So we refreshed all the project materials, and also from the old ones, and also we created the new project, and we really worked in how can we build a clear sales routine for the network, and build a support consultancy system around it, and then in an engageable way through the ICOM channels of the network. For all the specific information regarding the details of the projects that we are running right now in the entity, you can again go to the hub, and you can read more carefully there about each one of them. So then, key bottlenecks that we faced. Let's say that, as I was saying to you, we faced some problems with external factors for partnerships, not only the endorsement that we were having for the Edu Change project, but also for partnerships as Integrate, because there were some specific situations in the Italian context regarding the government support and the funds, and the funding capacity that was given by the government to some institutions and organizations that were working with this topic about refugees in the country, was completely changed and cut. So we faced some external factors that, of course, changed the way that we were running the project, and we were doing the sales with those specific partners. As I was telling to you regarding network implementation, not all of the entities managed to implement this timeline shift so fast or in time. Many also because we were putting, as I was saying to you at the beginning, also we were putting up the summer sales timeline. So we wanted to also open even earlier summer, but we didn't take in consideration some factors that were, let's say, shaping the general context, about how fast the members could implement the strategies. Some of also main bottlenecks is that we face some problems in terms of the synergy ERIGV for alignments on what to sell and in which moment. So the national sales were also aligned with the general sales peak that we were pushing with the entities at local level. And then based on these key victories and key bottlenecks, the key learnings that we got from the very first peak regarding sales HV is that we need to capitalize more on the network work, and not to put a huge high contribution only on national sales. Yes, we can have, of course, the strategy of national sales contributing in a good or in a considerable way to the overall sales goal. Um, but also we need to capitalize and make sure that the network is the first one driving the intensity at local level. Because in that local level, the scope of sales is bigger than the capacity that we have at MC side. Taking in consideration the implementation time when we create a new strategy, as I was saying to you, put back the timeline for sales, including also summer. And education of the network is a fundamental factor to make people feel more confident about selling. And we need to improve also the supporting systems that we have in synergy with OD, in which basically we gather data about how is the sell intensity in a weekly base from the LCs, from the entity. So we need to improve also how we were managing and analyzing that data. And especially for the part of education, we truly understood that we cannot take for granted that all the members are going to know 100% how to sell in 3 days, 4 days, or 1 week. But what we can ensure is that we build all the system and the capacity to give them a clear routine of implementation and how they can focus their education or their learnings based on the process that they should be doing as the timeline sets. No, not to try to know everything in 2 days, but then not being able, but focusing in the thing that in the process, let's say, that matters in the funnel. So this was mainly about sales IGV for winter peak. And yes, then later on, if you have more specific questions also with the current state, we will discuss at the end. Then talking about approvals, so this is just general, as you can see in the presentation, some of the performance of the approvals for IGV in our entity. As you can see, we were focusing in two main things when it comes to approval management for IGV. The first one was about process time. So we wanted to push 3 days as process time from applicant to accepted to make sure that we were going to standardize the EP processing or EP management routine for IGV, and also we were gonna push and standardize how fast we could be to cover all the opportunities on time, as I was mentioning before, in order to avoid a huge gap between approvals and realizations. And then the second one was entirely about entity partners, so IR management. So we wanted to ensure that 85% of approvals were done with our main entity partners for the peak, because it's one of like IR management in general for other products, but especially in this case for winter peak for IGV is really important for us as AIESEC in Italy, because the supply and demand is completely diversified and different throughout the whole global network. And based on our timeline, in which the realization peaks are more diverse and different, we need to make sure that we have the right supply and the good partnerships to cover the opportunities. So going through approvals, something that I wanted to also highlight for the part of the strategy for entity partners, we managed to have more than 85% of our approvals with entity partners, was around 90%. So we were really boosting a lot, not only IMC to MC partnerships, but also supporting the LCs to be aligned with the national partners at local level. Something that is good to highlight here is that for IR for IGB for the winter peak, we managed a lot Europe focus. So we really invested in some Europe partnerships that really grew for winter peak with us in terms of exchange volume, and drop of results for us for the peak. And then you can see here that still we also managed some partnerships also in Asia Pacific, in Americas. Uh, Here in the presentation, you can see which was the plan achievement with each one of the partners. But just to give you an overall perspective, main contributors for our IGB in Europe for winter peak were Ukraine, Georgia, Russia, and then Turkey. And then we have from AP, we have basically India, Sri Lanka. That was also a new cooperation that started to grow in China. And then for Americas, our biggest contributor still keeps being Brazil. And then we diversify more the contribution of entities like Colombia, Mexico. For later or deeply analysis of IR, you can go to the hub, where we also you are going to find the IGV IR tracker, in which you can have more information regarding the plan achievement, the measures, the growth, and the conversions for each one of the partners that we managed for that peak. And then from the part of process time, basically, we were focusing a lot on leveraging EPs conducted in 24 hours, so making sure that all of EPs were conducted on time. And then also the EPs process on Podio, just because, as a point of information, the way that we also use Podio as part of the EP processing routine here for our IGV. So we will also wanted to make sure that all the EPs that were also both on Podio and Extra were processed up to 100%, and also the conversion in that sense from EPs on X-Men Podio was also higher. As you can see, here are the main percentage that we achieved. That mainly in terms of EP process on Podio and EPs contacted in 24 hours was more than 75%, up to 86%, and then from the conversion Extra Podio was 33%. Main learnings about approvals for IGV is that, well, in terms of victories, I was saying to you, we raised the contribution and the cooperation within the region in Europe. One of the elements of our IR was to boost small OGV entities that decided to um, work with us in partnership with us to start increasing the exchange volume. For example, Hungary is a new partnership that we started to boost a lot together. We managed to improve the process time, and we also develop really a clear routine and a common engagement with approval managers from all of the entity, from also national side. So we were pushing and supporting also this part of the process. One of the main bottlenecks is that, of course, we face some situations regarding LC's management or organizational development, because we had big contributors of the product that were a bit in delay dropping compared to the previous peak. Then in terms of IR, managing big corporations like Turkey, Brazil, and China, we were having some issues with China in terms of communication because of the context and the platforms that they use. With Turkey, a bit of how in general we manage the routine to be on top of like all the initiatives that we were pushing, leadership, etc. And then with Brazil as well, as Turkey was a matter of like the keeping the routine and the communication always on track. Um, yes, key learnings from this is that, you can see, mainly we decided that based on the results, we wanted to focus our IR for summer peak in Europe for IGV, but still, of course, keeping main contributors from other regions as Brazil and also Asia Pacific. As China. So this is it for IGB for the first part of Winter Peak. Then we are gonna go with first marketing side, and then with other GX, and then we are gonna go after that with the current state. So mainly from signups side, this is like a summarize, as you can see, of the achievement of the goal of signups that we were having for the first semester. Something to highlight regarding our marketing strategies that we decided to, in terms of marketing. Um, Channels and distribution and capitalization of all the channels that we can use for promotion. We decided to boost online as one of the main channels for the Winter Peak, also because of the context of the market's identity, in which, based on the analysis and the targetization that we did for Winter Peak, online was a channel that was very present to reach those kind of targets to promote the products. So leveraging up online channels, and then also, of course, keeping the contribution of offline channels, physical strategies, and in this part of this of our marketing strategy, we decided also to include synergies in the sense of PR and then also we wanted to keep to push the synergy with finance in order to boost and create a more clear investments culture inside the entity. And we were put the strategy, was so how we could start and give more clear guidelines and support in terms of university relation activities that we could implement both online and physical for the ongoing products, specifically for products like for GT, for example, in which the target that can be reached again and that makes sense on the markets for this for the first peak was activities from just for you to some things that I would like to highlight in terms of sign-ups and marketing strategy. As you can see for the winter peak, our main channel, yes, our main channel of contribution for the sign-ups was both. So as you can see here, you can see the distribution, but we really pushed a lot especially of compared to the previous peak. So yes, the main channel as we're coming from, but the channel the people as the highest and increase the contribution that we were having from that side. And later on, channels referrals as public relation PR, and then also referrals from friends and all. Just all before going on, just as inside of marketing, from physical channels, something to take in consideration that in terms of physical activities, still clash outs are one of the biggest contributors of the overall source of signups coming from physical activity. Okay, moving on. I will go also to highlight here in terms of online signups. That, as I was saying to you, we achieved 82% of the goal that we planned, but we grew compared to previous winter peak in 85% contribution of online channels. So we really push the online in the first semester for the peak. As I was saying to you, because it is based on the market analysis and the targetation, which a lot of the targets were present in online channels. So we really pushed this. In that sense, coming back a little bit, as I was saying to you, PR was a main synergy together with digital marketing to boost a lot of digital channels, and it also was pushing a lot the very first top of the funnel that was made visitors to through our social media channels and on our digital content in order to boost the number of people that we were getting attracted by it. And from offline signups coming from physical activities, as I was saying to you, it was still the main contributor for the winter peak. But something to highlight, as I was saying to you, besides being clash outs, the main is that, as you can see here, the peak of marketing, of physical marketing activities intensity was we're pushing a lot the intensity of the measures in the funnel, starting from the very top, meaning intensity of activities and then signups for the specific strategies that we were running for those months for our GX products. So something to take in consideration about the whole marketing strategy from winter peak is that as main conclusions, we had as victories the growing signups that I was telling to you guys. We also have 18 LCs entities growing in signups, and then also 14 entities achieving their plans. Main bottlenecks is that in general we needed to understand. It was challenging to understand how to be always on top with the implementation of the strategies, looking from the local perspective, because as you know, marketing was not only working for OGX, but as a point of information was also supporting the attraction for talent capacity, so for HR campaigns capacity. So it was also in general the timeline of the entity of being a local level, the area being able to manage the different process when it was needed or different focus, managed that some entities were in delay. So in general, overall, the strategy got in delay. So of course, it was an ongoing challenge how to make everyone be at the same level. And then also we needed to understand as a bottleneck how to unlock the more the contribution from digital side from PR initiatives or strategies, because we believe that it is and it can be even more a new channel or a new sign-ups stream for the products. And as key learnings, one of the things that we worked a lot during Winter Peak, from the online perspective of the marketing strategy, was on building a stronger culture of online promotion and supporting the network on implementation. But also we started to build the digital infrastructure of the entity. So we started to develop the AIESEC in Italy website and how to work to have a one centralized, let's say, digital traffic of attraction towards our main platform or and digital ecosystem being the website. And from there, how we can capitalize more in the call to action, in the general, the customer flow, the customer journey that a person that is interested in our products can have. And also based on this, how could we improve our lead nurturing strategy, connecting both our website with XPA, so we able to also way all the people that is getting into the funnel. So mainly these are the main highlights of our marketing strategy. There is a key part of our whole marketing strategy that we started to push a lot, but I'm gonna go deeply now when I start talking about OGX, because it's directly connected to the product strategy of OGX. So starting with OGX, the first product is OGB. So here you can see we achieved more than 80% of the goal. Here you can see an overall funnel. We grew in all the measures, but we had a small drop in realizations for Winter Peak. And you can see here the conversion rates also in the funnel. So basically from signups to applicant, it's around 57%. Then from applicant to accepted, 71, and from accepted to approve, 73%. Semester for Winter Peak. And of course, for summer peak and for the strategy that we have set in place that I will tell you later, we are planning to manage a different way the funnel. So one of the main things that I want to highlight for all the ongoing pros, but starting for OGP, and is the thing that I was mentioning before that was connected with marketing, is that the main driver of our ongoing pros, OGX areas pro strategy, was market targetization, meaning that we worked a lot at the beginning on doing market analysis and defining which were going to be the specific targets from all of our markets as from the national side, but also aligning to the local ones, which for Winter Peak, because in the general timeline, in the context of the entity, always Winter Peak was more challenging for the entity, for the ongoing products to find the right targets and actually manage to increase the contribution of the peak for the ongoing products and raise the volume of exchange that we were managing for Winter Peak. So we decided to go with the main driver of our product strategy for ongoing products, in this case of GB. So we decided basically after this to build customer personas that were aligned also to based on the that were aligned to the local markets, and based on the analysis that we did, also taking of course in consideration the local markets. And basically with these customer personas, we decided to build the product strategy by focusing on one or two different customer personas per each month, per each ongoing product. In this case for OGB, we focus on one or two customer personas in 1 month, meaning August, September, October, November, and December. So in that sense, we were aligned also with marketing, and this is when I was talking. That was also one of the main marketing strategy pillars, because we were aligning the market, and also we were aligning all the promotion strategy. So by each month, all the promotion was aligned to that customer persona, that market. So all the activities that we were planning in terms of marketing intensity and the message and the call to action that we were going to have in the market was all working for those targets that we were choosing, and not just a general or broad promotion, in order to make sure that we were able to capitalize the most on the targets that could work for Winter Peak, meaning people that could actually live during Winter Peak to live to have an exchange experience with us. So this was the main driver of the OGB product strategy. So in that sense, basically I'm going to show you that we were working a lot with the concept of having a contribution based on this on those in these specific markets, having a contribution of approvals coming from specific campaigns that we will be building, as I was saying to you, around these markets, targetized markets, customer persona. So we were working a lot, as you can see in the report, to manage to have an overall contribution for the whole peak for all the campaigns that we are managing each month. The highest one, of course, was in November regarding the Black Week campaign slash strategy that was also tackling specific customer personas on that month for the markets. But we were pushing a lot of this contribution and how we can always be on top of working in synergy with the marketing at local level to focus on the execution of the strategy. Something that I would like to share is that the main learning that we got from Winter Peak in working in OGB marketing, in general, OGX marketing, working synergy, we are going, we take for example, we take as an example the Black Week campaign strategy because we plan everything beforehand on time and we forecast which was the focus that both OGB and marketing networks should have at local level to achieve the results. So mainly we drove this routine week by week in which we were aligning both OGB and marketing areas to have a local routine to work together from one specific measure of the customer flow and then after focusing on the next one. So for example, in these first 2 weeks, you are gonna focus together in signups, in all the intensity that comes to signups and support the attraction selling process with the markets. Then we are gonna focus together in applicants. So we are gonna make sure that all the converting process and all the call to action, the message that we are pushing, and the EP management is being supported by each other to focus only in that measure of the customer flow in that moment. And then after we are gonna focus in approval. So then of course OGB is gonna focus on the last focus, for example, in the last part of the customer management. So this was the main learning that we had in terms of working in synergy. For example, OGV marketing. And it's something that we are taking forward also for the summer peak. You will see later on. And something that is important to understand as well is that in terms of the promotion strategy perspective itself, one of the main learnings that we got from besides working with targetized markets and customer personas and choosing which was the target markets per each month and building the message and the call to actions around it of the campaigns, was also that one of the key reasons why November was a successful month in terms of promotion was that we were pushing a lot of the integrated marketing strategy in the local level. So we were connecting and we were having one main message and one main call to action, and all of the marketing activities were aligned towards it. So every marketing activity either was online or physical, either was a clash out or an ad or a Facebook sharing, was always having the same call to action towards a specific touch point. So we were making sure that we were being aligned 100% on which was the kind of message that we were pushing with our customers. So this is mainly for OGV. So this is the main thing that I wanted to share with you, and you can find further information in the documents. One last thing is that we decided to focus also a lot on building capacity inside the network, specifically in one of the entities that we're managing a specific volume from OGV exchanges that is called Tier 4 based on our OD model. But you can also check with in the OD open space and in the OD model materials what does it mean. But basically we wanted to increase the contribution from these entities by creating a specific support system of education, not only in OGV but also marketing work, and a support system of consultancy and coaching for those entities to make sure that they were going to be able to reach their contribution. And we were also expecting a contribution of approvals coming from them. So we worked a lot on building next steps and checklists and standardizing all the marketing work and OGV work on those entities to make sure that they were able to reach the goals that we were setting together. So this is also something for you to be aware of. And then Lastly, we were also focusing a lot in improving the conversion sign up to applicant, because it was based on the previous winter peak, it's one of the main bottlenecks that we were having for OGV product. And then we managed to have our overall 14% conversion sign up to applicant for the winter peak. And we worked a lot for this in mapping out a clear sign up to applicant EP leading procedure or flow with clear call to action step by step to convert into the EPs in the moment that they sign up, and which was the message that you were pushing in each touch point, and how is the overall converting procedure routine for the network, and which were the kind of with situational, let's say, example and alignment on how you could work with the customer and behave with the customer to make sure that you were moving it throughout the customer flow more and more and more. So this was like the main, let's say, drivers of the product strategy for OGV, and the main learnings that we had that I already shared with you, and they are written more detail in the PPT. Then regarding for OGT, here you can see the overall achievement for the product. So it was around 50 out of 61 approvals planned, so it was around 80 percent for OGT. You can see here that we grew in all the measures, meaning accepted, approval, realization, and completed, but we dropped in applications. So in terms of OGT, as I was saying to you, and also applies for OGE, remember that one of the main drivers of the product strategy was working with targetized markets. So we also build customer personas for this product, and that could be tackling the local realities for the by the entities. And we of course build the promotion strategy and campaigns around the specific mention and call to action that we could play with these target markets. But in addition, in this specific case for OGT, we also worked a lot with understanding the supply and demand and how we will match the supply and demand for the peak, for winter peak, with the targets that we were also deciding to focus on from our internal market side. So we were able to do the match and to leverage up the market itself. So the first thing that we were doing was to focus a lot on in the among the flows that GT is managing, in teaching with a specific entity partners, in this case with China and India. So we were having a clear, let's say, promotion strategy with the customer personas that work for this sub product, and the ones that of course work to promote this product with these markets, to focus on teaching in India and China, and how we could leverage up the contribution with those entity partners, and aligning, of course, supply and demand, and the promotion message and call to action that we could have the opportunities that they were having. So basically, it was some work a lot together with marketing to build the whole promotion strategy and to set in place the support for this. As I was mentioning in the very beginning, something for you to take in consideration is that when it comes to GT, for example, in AIESEC in Italy, one of the main marketing activities that bring results are regarding with UR management, so university relations, so working with faculties or departments to promote through our online channels, newsletters, or internal platforms in the universities, the opportunities for GT. And then besides that, also online promotion. So either it's gonna be Facebook sharings, Facebook posts, or ads management. So meaning investments for promotion of specific opportunities aligned to the entity partners and to the customer personas were like the main things that we were driving in terms of promotion for GT. So we were like, once again, coming back, besides the marketing part of the product strategy and the promotion, we were focusing on deciding which specific products to align to which specific based on their supply and dining, which customer persona could supply that. So one of the examples was teaching for India and China in our case. Then from the side of product management, we were focusing a lot on conversion applicant accepted, and we managed to overachieve this measure in the customer flow for GT, mainly because the reason why we decided to push this is because before, in the last previous winter peak, was one of the main bottlenecks that the product was having. So we managed to to increase and to solve moving people down the funnel. How did we do this? Basically, working with the standardizing all the converting procedure, EP management for GT, starting from SOP, so standard operational procedures. So what needs to happen step by step with the customer, and in this case for GT, since the moment that we are attracting it. And also we worked a lot on building capacity in our network to support better, and in that sense build more capacity in our customers to run the GT process, selection process that we are managing. So we worked a lot on education and reinforcing all guidelines in terms of CV preparation, interview, and also how to set expectation with the EPs, to make sure that we were being able to make them apply to our IA partners and to get them down the funnel, but also in that sense to fulfill both expectations from their side, but also the ones that we were aligning with them. So basically, this was one of the main things that we were pushing a lot, and here you can also see more in detail in the presentation, which were the main entity partners that we were working, that got benefit from improving this conversion rate, and also with the main angles or key focus points that we were having for this strategy in particular. And lastly, we were also pushing BNA marketing, so the other subproducts of GT. We were pushing also to raise the contribution of the total amount of approvals that we were doing for the product for entity partners. So we really wanted to make sure that for BNA and marketing, we were increasing the contribution of our main entity partners, aligning supply and demand again, as I was mentioning before for teaching, aligning supply and demand, and building all our attraction strategy, message, call to action, and promotion of specific opportunities with these entity partners, but also with the customer persona slash targetization of the market that we knew that could work based on their background and the message that we were pushing in that moment with these subproducts, and of course the supply that is present in the global network regarding BNA and marketing. So this was it, and we managed to reach 50% out of the approvals in these subproducts with entity partners. Main learnings overall of the GT product strategy from the first winter peak, as you can see here very briefly. We grew in this winter peak compared to the previous one. We increased the conversion and also the ratio application per applicant, and we managed to split entity partners by subproduct to give a clear direction to not only the LTs but also to our attraction strategy, as I was mentioning to you. So we really pushed to understand the overall also supply and demand timeline of IGT to make sure that we were choosing the right entity partners to work with. One of the main bottlenecks to say is that the conversion accepted to approve decreased in some overall in the funnel, and also with some specific entity partners, still the expectation alignment and the EP management from the side was a bit of a bottleneck in some moments in overall process time, and how they were setting expectation with the EPs and taking them further into the process. And then as something that is highlighted here, we need to, of course, in that moment we were understanding that we really need to push more the digital ecosystem for GT, because as I was mentioning to you, online is one of the key main channels in our case, as I in Italy, for promoting GT. And then lastly, but not least, we have OGE. So basically our product strategy, OGE, again, market targetization, customer persona, aligning promotion, message, call to action. But one of the main things that we decided to push with OGE is that we decided to reshape the way that we were managing the product and going entirely to sell GE based on alignment of entity partners and our markets. So we created, let's say, two sub brands. If I'm trying to find the exact word in English, but let's say brands. So for GE, for the winter peak, to push how we were selling the opportunities that are embedded on that sub brand from the specific entity partners that we chose. So basically, we decided to create two concepts that are brands that are Crea and Potencia, based on the different backgrounds and like the customer personas that we found for this product in our market that can be grouped in each one of them. And then we created selling packages for both Crea and Potencia based on the supply and demand of GE, so from the other side for IGE, and based on the opportunities, how they were matching with the backgrounds of our market. So they are related to how we could exploit better our market, but start selling to our market clearly this entity partner if you are coming from this background because it's the main supplier and supplier that we have, and we align all the message and the call to action towards it. So in general, this is one of the main things that we embedded in the winter peak strategy for GE, and you can see that GE as a product was very with it started to have a very exponential growth from for the first semester in MC term, of course, compared to the previous one. When just as a general information, G is one of the is the youngest, newest product of our organization. So of course, the product still is in that curve, initial curve of exponential growth. Once it is set in the market, and a lot of still doing plug and play to understand which is the best way to run it, regarding the context that each entity has in their market. So we decided to go, as I was saying to you, with the strategy that I was telling to you. I'm going to show you here briefly, for example, the selling package materials that we created based on the two so brands, so Crea and Potencia. So for example, here we have Potencia that has a specific message aligned to the specific customer personas. It's in Italian, but you will have also the explanation in the hub. And then for Crea, the same, the message and the call to action aligned to the customer personas that we are, that can be grouped there. And the same here are the different messages based on the different opportunities. The IR, so for example, we have here Romania, and how Romania was embedded and aligned to one of the two Crea or Potencia, and like which were the main opportunities that we were managing to have. So this is like an example. Also, you can find all this information in the hub, like this booklet. And this is it with the whole winter peak. So main learnings before I finish, sorry. Main learnings also for GE is that we, as I was saying to you, we worked a lot on targetizing or IR, let's say, so choosing which were gonna be our game key changer, key partners for the product. So we were pushing a lot also a contribution for the specific entities that we were investing the most in terms of IR initiatives, and then we were aligning all of our supply for them as well. Here you can see we chose Egypt, Romania, Bahrain, and India. And then also one of the things that we were pushing the first semester for GE was also increasing, sorry, the contribution of the entities that were running the product and how we could support them better regarding the state that that they were having at the beginning of our term. So we chose specific entities among the ones that are running the product to leverage up them. Basically, it's the same strategy that we were doing for GB. So we were creating a specific support system, guidelines, education, tools, consultancy, and coaching in synergy with LD to support this entity to work better and to increase the contribution in terms of approvals that they were having for the product. And in general, I'll share with you the big learnings that we had for GE for winter peak. And then some of the key wins, you can also read them more carefully later, but we started to grow compared also to the previous winter peak, and we managed to put GE Italy in the map of the region in Europe, and also being one of the top contributors in the overall supply and demand of the network. Then what is going to happen next is that I'm going to give you a very, very brief contextualization in terms of complete and value delivery strategy. And then we are going to go with the current state that is going to be a bit, let's say, faster, just because in this first part, I really wanted to share with you which were the main learnings and like the highlights that we were having. So first, in terms of value delivery and complete management, it's very, very simple. We decided to push two main things for all the products. One was focusing on response rate, and the second one in the percentage of standards that each product need to deliver. So we were pushing a lot to create standardizing the process of contacting the APs when the time comes in the overall timeline, to fill the survey and to create a standardized touchpoint checklist for the APs during realization. In the case of IGB side, to have fixed touch points in which they can start debriefing the experience and the survey, for example, to make sure that we are gonna have a good percentage of response rate. And then for standards delivery, we worked a lot in refreshing all the education and standard materials. We created a clear timeline when each standard should happen, since the moment the EP is approved on EXPA, but also when the EP is doing realization, how we can do co-delivery in the case of OGX side with AIESEC side. So we also worked on building co-delivery guidelines and education, and also, as I was saying to you before, fixed touch points to deliver each standard with the EPs. So basically, that was our main, the complete value delivery strategy. And of course, all of this was to push the targets to achieve the global targets per each conversion finish to complete of each product that we were having. So for GBs it's 60%, and then for GE it's 55%, and for GT 25%. Here in this in the semester review report, you can go deeply in in the all the measures and all the KPIs that we on top of the timeline, always to understand how the measure is behaving, and also how to push the network to have, when the time comes, the focus of standards delivery and then response rate to get the feedbacks and close the experience with the customers. And also we understood that we need to improve a lot the incoming engagement part to have more clearly a constant communication with the network about this part of the customer flow and and overall of the product management in general. And already in winter peak learnings in terms of, let's say, hard functional knowledge. So if you want to check which was the specific timeline per each product, per each measure, meaning applicants accepted, really approved, realization, openings in the case of IGB, complete, etc. In the hub, we put, you can find there also like the information per each product, and also the planning that we had. So you can also go deeper in this, let's say, hard specific knowledge topics. Then moving on for the last part of the open space, it's I want to talk to you guys about the current state. So how it's looking after all of this first winter peak semester and all the things that I just shared with you, the main learnings, the main bottlenecks, and the main highlights that we were pushing in our product strategy. How it's looking like the current, like the summer peak, and which is the current state in which the entity is standing right now in terms of operations. So the first thing that I want to start with is with IGB. So here you can see which are the goals and the timeline that we have for IGB summer peak in AIESEC in Italy. So as you can see, we raised the contribution, of course, of summer peak. So the highest amount of approvals overall in our term as placed in summer. We also increased the fee conversion to up to 75% because we managed to reach the global target before. So we already had 60% as a starting point for this peak. And of course, we also increased the goal of openings that we had, because of course, in order to have more approvals and consequential, you need to have more opportunities and projects to be able to approve and cover. So mainly these are the goals. This presentation I'm also going to share with you. And in terms of timeline, just for you to understand, we are placing the IGB peaks both in openings and approvals in March and April. So as you can see, the highest peak of sales and approvals are in these 2 months, meaning that we are planning to, of course, push and support and downscale the strategies to manage the two focus at the same time. Because due to the timeline in general of summer peak, in which the opportunities are covered, needs to be covered even faster, because the supply and demand in the global network is different from winter peak, and the entities, let's say the OGB side in the global network, are already having EPs since January, even since December or November, that are already looking opportunities for summer. So even though so even in that case, the EPs, the OGXI EPs that can supply opportunities are gonna be approved very fast. So in that sense, we need to manage to have all of our biggest percentage opportunities on time. So this is where we are setting the peaks for both openings and approvals, and just for you also to be aware. And then a little bit less in May, and then something for you to be to have clarity is also from June and July we lower the contribution in terms of summer peak, but because later on I'm gonna explain you also how we are planning to pull up again timeline for winter peak, so being able to open opportunities for the next winter peak even earlier, so not only until the last semester of the current term, but also for the generation to come, it's gonna be even easier to keep pushing the timeline shift. So with that being said, I also wanted to talk to you about the sales timeline. So how it's looking the summer peak in terms of sales for IGV. So basically, as I was mentioning to you, what we decided is that we plan different sales wave. So each wave means one huge sales process in which we focus in different measures at different moments to get to the final lag measure or outcome that is the open itself. So we plan different sales waves throughout all the months, and each wave is managing a different product focus to sell. So as you can see here, we put here all of the projects that we are running, or the products that we are running in IGB currently. And starting from summer peak first, we have focus help to help and make it and integrate in the first wave. So in the first month of sales, that is going to be this one that we already started February. We are having focus those selling those three projects. Here you can see the specific days. So it goes from the 7th of February to the 28th of from the 7th yes of February to the 28th, and talking about this month, but also even before in January, we were already pushing this first sales wave. See, so this for the first one. Then for the second one, we are introducing keep selling the initial projects before, especially integrate, and then we start to introduce in the second wave in March cultural summer, because in those moments the summer camps here start to open to have clarity about how they're going to manage during summer their activities, their budget, etc. So we can start selling cultural summer from that moment on in that sale in that wave. And then it's gonna go on to the next until the end of April for this specific project that we are running. Then we also have new projects, but right now it's not going to be a focus having more projects than the ones that we already created that was Make It. And something that you can see here in the presentation is that, yes, besides the sales wave for summer peak, we also added a clear timeline for or a scope for winter peak sales, mainly coming back again that it will change is the main project for winter peak. How we also gonna set in place through reselling, mainly being able to have more opportunities for winter peak earlier, starting from March, April, May until like the end of the semester. But just for you also to be aware, it will change is not like a focus in terms of sales for summer, meaning that projects that need to be realized on summer, June, July is not a focus, but all the other projects are. Then all these sales that you can see here in the timeline for Edu as I was saying to you, is going to be winter peak and off peak resales. So this is mainly the sales timelines for IGP, and here you can find the specific days for you to also get exactly the moments when it's happening. In terms of planning, so how is the product strategy looking like for IGB now for summer peak? Basically, we decided to keep the strategy of opening up the funnel, so opening sales part of the product funnel, and then of course, improving the product management for approvals and keeping, of course, value delivery. So FICO as one of the main things that we wanted to, drive and push for this semester in general, because of course it's a semester that is of specifically which are the main pillars that are driving each one of these main focus in the strategy for IGB. So for the first part of sales and opening the funnel, mainly we want to keep the synergy with the art from national level. So having experts from the national office, also communicate support and downscaling to local entities in some specific cases. Then one of the main things also to highlight here in terms of summer peak is that since the focus it's of great that in which the target, the enabler target, is an NGO. In the business model that the product has, that we are going to later on, but you also can go deeply, and I suggest you to go deeply for sure in the other for you guys, and approach Aliana's MCP GV. Since the enabler target is different, NGOs have a different, let's say, funding or budget capacity. So in difference to what happens in winter peak, one of the main things that also based on the market analysis recently that we did, that comes as bottleneck or as a point of objection for the neighbors as customer to get or to acquire our projects. It's the hosting, because since the target is different, not all of them either can host or like directly cover the hosting for the EPs, or they can pay for us to cover, for example, like I'll just say as an example, as it happens in other entities. So one of the main things that you can see here for the product strategy for this semester is really having a clear global home strategy, meaning that we are working and we already started to work on standardizing how do we want to manage the promotion and the traction for global home for our entities, so we can be able to have the host on time. So yes, we are working a lot on this, and also how we standardize the process in terms of legalities and all the documents needed in case to manage global home families, in the terms of having clear aligned expectations also from responsibility that they have with the organization, change participation, organization be aware of in case of RGB. And then the last thing that is driving is also how we can build the capacity to pull up the timeline and make all of our entities being able to open a total amount of opportunities, that in case it's 20 opportunities before before April, so latest by March. So we will make sure that we have all the opportunities on time, as I was mentioning to you, and that we are going to be able to cover them all and be on top of the global timeline for approvals for GB that is going to happen mainly in April overall in the global network. And then for approvals, we are going to keep focusing on IR, so pushing the 85% of approvals coming from entity partners, and also process time in terms of product management. So we want to strive to keep 3 days from applicant to accepted as the main goal to drive when it comes to processing and to managing the EPs. And then for in terms of value delivery, it stays the same as I was saying to you. For FICO, finish to complete, we raised the final goal up to 75%, but the main pillars are still the same, focusing on leveraging up response rate when necessary, and also standards delivery when necessary according to the timeline in the case of our IGB, both high peak and also off peak realizations that we are managing. So this is it for IGB summer peak, so very straight to the point. You can also find in the hub the all planning, the overall all summer peak planning that we did for operations department. So you can find there a sheet in which you have general product timeline, sales timeline, waves of sales, specific days, and then you have divided by each project the timeline of openings, and also how it's going to be the contribution that we are planning for each one of them, and the overall peaks and the specific strategies that we plan to run for the product in this semester. So you can also, I strongly suggest you also to give a look to that, so you can get the very detailed implementation step by step of the overall strategy. So this is for IGV. So then coming to marketing and OGX, I'm going to start from marketing. Based on the number of applicants for OGX that we are going to get. So we decided to switch internally in the, let's say, in the synergy, in how we were putting the synergy strategy in place, to put also the conversion sign up to applicant under marketing scope of under the scope of our marketing strategy, because of course it is influenced by the way that we are tackling promoting, attracting our market, and with which kind of message, call to action, and the way that we are doing lean nurturing to our customers throughout that very first part of the customer flow, that really influence the way that how much able then we are able to convert them down the funnel. So these are in terms of marketing. This is the plan for Summer Peak in terms of sign up online, physical, and applicants overall for OGX. So we split it, of course, based on our main referral channels, online signups and physical. When is the peak? As you can see, the peaks for promotion are set in March and April. Why? As I was saying to you, because the main peaks for approvals are going to be March and then April. So March specifically for OGB, and then April for specifically for GNGT. So of course our attraction needs to be aligned. But as you can see, not also the intensity starts from this month, and later on I'm gonna explain you how is the promotion timelines plan or set for this summer. Because yes, of course, if you think about it, of okay, I'm gonna have my OGV peak of approvals on March, and then I'm also planning to have my peak of signups on March. It means that I'm gonna need to work already, let's say, with some delay to convert everything in the same moment. But if I build the capacity on my funnel, on my customer flow funnel for OGB before, and I already have my pool of signers a little bit advanced before, I'm gonna be able to focus more specifically in the measures that by timing the measures that are gonna be more game changer for my product. I'm gonna be able to convert all of my pool of, for example, signups by the end of March. But I'm gonna show you now how we plan to push this concept a lot. But this is the overall timeline for the marketing strategy, and you can see here the main picks as I was saying to you. Then something regarding specifically which are the things that are driving our marketing strategy. So basically we are driving our digital strategy. So we are still keep pushing online promotion, and basically now that we have a more established and standardized digital infrastructure for inner cyber entity, we want to keep pushing this as one of the main referral channels for signups online, and working not only in infrastructure but also with clear now link not national side, but also guidance from local implementation, with newsletters, with opportunity portal, with expa, with also link nurturing inside of our national website, etc., etc. So yes, and also, for example, ad management and investment management, all that comes in the whole scope of digital attraction strategies or activities. Then we are also keeping, of course, our physical channel, referral channel. So we are also still pushing physical activities, especially because, as a point also to highlight now for summer peak in the marketing strategy, the markets that we are going to tackle based on the market analysis that this did, and also the one that we did on national side, and all the customer personas that we build together, merging and all those insights. For these targets that we are gonna use, that we are gonna tackle per month for summer peak, physical channels are the main way to interact with them, to attract them. So also because of the general context that we have here inside the organization, and the in general external context as well, physical channel and physical activity is gonna be one huge contributor for summer peak. So we also want to make sure that we are gonna be aligned for it. Then we are also keeping the synergy with PR for signups coming from PR activities. And then some two things new that you can see a bit different from the previous one that I was showing to you is that we are pushing a lot to make more efficient the cost, the acquisition cost per customer, and the conversion cost per customer. So how much it's costing in general to get signups, for our products, and embedded on that, of course, keep pushing the investment culture and management inside all the entities. And lastly, as I was saying to you, we introduce conversion sign up to applicant up to 45%. This 45% means overall for all OGX signups, all become applicant, because share with you guys there that you can have access. The conversion exactly sign up applicant per each product is different. So something that I wanted to talk to you that I was mentioning before, it was about the timeline or promotion timeline. I'm going that with the as the main driver. So as I was mentioning a bit before, like analysis, and aligning all the message and call to action of our promotion towards. But the main thing is like waves. So we are gonna have a major one campaign, let's say, or either one different campaign each month. But we are gonna have waves of campaigns that are gonna be built in different moments of 1 month or 2 months. So you can start, for example, and finishing the other one, etc., etc. But and demand timeline, but also we did the reason why we decided to plan through waves of promotion is because in each wave you get the possibility to build and exploit all the capacity of each product, uh, split it in different key measures from the customer flow that makes sense based on how the process is run. So for example, if I see here that the first wave of promotion for OGB is going to week of March, then we are planning that as we are planning to set the campaign, the promotion, the local TV marketing, and the routine, etc., is that, as I was explaining before, taking forward the main learnings that we have from Winter Peak, is that in the first 2 weeks the focus is going to be sign up. So all the intensity and of activities and the message and the call to action of synergy of marketing also with OGB is going to be focused on getting signups. And then in the fourth and in the first week of the other next of March is going to be applicants. So it's converting all the signups with a specific touch point, for example, national event that we're going to push to convert everyone into applicants. And then in the last week, you focus on doing the last converting process and get all the approvals. So basically, what it makes the difference is that you build the capacity of each measure of the customer flow in different moments, and you are making sure that you get the most out of it. So you at the end are able to reach your final goal. So here, this is how you here you can see the waves for OGB. So the first one that is starting now, and then the end big waves of promotion are inside the two, of course, big months of approvals for the peak of summer peak for OGB. So March for the first one and April for the second one. And for the first one in March, something to I suggest you to look more into it or ask more about it is Europe United Week. That is a initiative that is running Europe as a region to boost the approvals, not to promotion, but just in terms of supply and demand alignment to boost approvals inside the region and all, mainly, and then of course still with other entity partners, but mainly inside Europe. So it's something also that it's quite of the region when they are gonna plan also physical touchpoint to boost the IR and approving manias for the entities. So this in general is the OGB promotion timeline. Here you can see going on. Then this is for G and so the first one for OG, here you can see also how they're planning their promotion wave and which entity partners are we focusing, because as a reminder, we are keeping inside the product strategy the two sub-brands, Crea and Potencia, and all the customer personas that are under each to the specific entity partners supply and demand that works for those targets of the market. So, for example, in the first one, you can see that we are focusing a lot in Egypt, Brazil, and India, and so on. In the next one, and the other ones are we are adding or taking out one of or two more entity partners. So here you can see also how the ways are planned, but basically it's the same principle. We are focusing on a specific measure in a specific moment to build all the capacity, and then we go on, we go on. So at local level, the synergy is focused on one priority per each week with a clear routine to get the results. And then for OGT is the same, but why we have two difference, because we created one for DNA marketing. So for these two products, a timeline of the promotion, and then we also added teaching in a different one, because teaching timeline of the product itself in GT is different from BNA marketing, so it has a different timeline of supply and demand, where the opportunities are open and where the peaks are happening. As you can see, we are actually now in the peak of teaching until the second week of March, and then it goes out of the picture, let's say, until second week of June, and we can start again building all the capacity to process teaching as a sort of product for GT. And then for coming back a bit to BNA marketing, as you can see, mainly we are playing for the next months in the first wave of promotion. We took in consideration we are playing with the graduation peaks. So also based on when the universities here in the country are having their graduation peaks, when people are finishing university, how can we also place to understand that our promotion strategy is going to be aligned, not considering that, because it actually is a good starting point that we can take forward to understand the message that we can push and the call to action with the customer to make sure that our product and the value proposition of GT is gonna answer to their needs in that moment right after they are finishing their scholar experience, education experience, university experience. So this is in general the OGX promotion timelines, and you can see in the tool that we share with you more details. These are the dates again, but basically for OGE and OGT, it's also aligned with the first big wave of approvals on March, but then it's the highest. It's going to be actually on April. So the difference between GV, I mean OGV, is that the highest peak is not going to be on March, but it's going to be on April. And then for OGV, coming back a little bit again, it's on April, and then it's on March, and then the second one is going to be in April. So this in general the OGX promotion timeline. Then going into the product strategy, so coming back to OGV, these are the goals for the summer peak in terms of approvals and in conversion fees to complete value delivery. Why here in each outgoing product I'm not putting the part of like the funnel, so the first part of the customer flow, is because it's the main pillars are on their marketing scope that I was showing to you. But in any case, it's a work of synergy. So here in the PPT you don't see it, but later on when you are going to be able to go to the plan, you will see that all the work of implementation of these strategies are interconnected between OGX and marketing. So as you can see, again, the main peaks for OGV are going to be March and April, based on all the measures of the customer flow, but mainly on March. With for the first wave of promotion, and this in terms of the main pillars driving the strategy for this semester, we have still we are keeping the targetization of the market and all the things that I already mentioned before, and a contribution for this specific coming from these specific markets. Then we are also going to push a lot on AIESEC strategy from national level to support also the local entities to different incentive and showcasing systems to also boost a contribution from a membership in order to make the learning curve be even faster and to understand also, of course, the value proposition of one of the products and what we do in AIESEC even more faster. So eventually also contributes to the retention rate of our HR talent capacity. And then we decided also to keep one main pillar inside the product strategy, that is raising the capacity on 3 specific LCs inside the entity that can achieve more up to 100 or more 100 approvals in summer peak. So of course it's regarding again building on the capacity, education, coaching, tracking system, routine, to not only OGB but also with their main synergies, OG marketing, finance, etc., to make sure that these entities are going to be able to align all of the processes and have all of the internal OGB management on time to achieve these goals. Um, then going for OGE, these are the goals for the summer peak. This is the time. As you can see, the highest peak is in April, as I was mentioning to you, for this semester. And the main things that are driving the product strategy are still we are keeping selling GE in packages. So with these brands of Crea and Potencia, aligning our main entity partners and opportunities that they're having with the background of our target markets that we are choosing to focus each month for the product. Here you can see that we want to have a specific contribution from BNA and also a specific contribution from marketing. And of course, the entity partners are diversified based on these sub-products. So as you can see here, we are putting that for BNA is going to be Romania, Egypt, India, Brazil, and then for example, marketing is going to be Romania, Egypt, India, Brazil. So you can also in the plan, you can also check deeper this. And then, of course, the part of value delivery, which is basically the same two pillars I was mentioning before, but the target it's a bit different. I put 60, my mistake, but it's 55. Yeah, so this is for GE. And then mainly for GT, again, this is what it looks the timeline for the summer peak and the goals. And once again, the highest peak is set on April. And in terms of product strategy, we are keeping in the part of market targetization. How can we match the customer personas and the markets that we want to tackle for each month to the right supply and demand from a GT side. So the opportunities that can make sense with the background, and which are the, of course, as we are doing in G, we are choosing how to split and align the subpros based on the entity partners. So focus on teaching with the specific entities, and then of course again we are keeping BNA and marketing also with a strategy that is meant to raise and to ensure the contribution in terms of approvals of these subpros in entity partners. So and this is it in terms of the overall current state. So this is how we are planning to move forward the product strategy of each and which are the main highlights in terms of timeline and promotion. Something that I also would like to share with you very briefly is the customer personas that we were developing. So you can also understand that when we talk about customer persona, basically we created per each one of the products, which could be the ideal customer that could access to the value proposition of our product based on their background, their challenges, their goals, their common objections, and their demographics. So it's basically a customer profile, of course. And then what we created based on each customer persona is the different kind of message that can have. So I'm just gonna do a fair example. For example, for OGB, we have three different customer personas. The first one is focused on discover. So all the message and the call to actions of the promotion and the selling converting part are regarding and connected to discover. And then, for example, the second one is about develop yourself. So this customer persona profile is more about based on the background and all the profile that is built there, how you can push these measures more of developing yourself. And then, for example, the third one is about impact, so impacting. So how you can play with this message about impacting other culture, other country, other society, etc., based on the background and the profile that the customer persona has. Once again, all of this information about customer persona, so you can read deeply and understand which are the markets that we are planning to tackle for summer peak. You're gonna find the hub; it's already there. So we have the same for GE, and as you can see, the GE ones are aligned to Crea and Potencia that I was telling to you about before, and then also we have for GT that is also aligned to the subproducts and with a specific message to push regarding this. So this is something also that I wanted to share with you. And lastly, but not least, some useful information or tips that I also would like for you to make sure and or to be aware to not miss. So guys, as I was saying to you, this was a very, let's say, general walk you through the whole operations, product strategy, main learnings, and current state on how we're planning to take forward each one of the products in the entity. But of course, there are specific topics that I truly believe that are that we've been introducing as key changes or the changes for each product and the way that we're gonna run each product for the summer peak that I strongly suggest you to be aware of. So for example, starting for RGB, the first one is about the business model of the product because we recently made some changes about seeing how we are managing the sales from specific projects, mainly help to help make it and integrate, for example, mainly for this one. So I strongly suggest you to check all this information and also approach MCP Ariana in case you have any doubts. Also, all the reflection that we did about sales, materials, projects, which are the targets that can work for these ones, and also the SOPs for sales in general for product management, so you can get a better understanding of the market, the enabler marketing regarding RGB here in Italy. Then for OGX and marketing, national customer persona, so I strongly suggest also to have a look to understand also about the market itself and which are the different profiles that we are managing and how we can capitalize on. Then for OGX products, for OGB, I also suggest you to check in the hub all the things about converting procedures, so EP management step by step, which is the process time, which are the specific activities, which is the routine that we are having right now and pushing for the product, and then the selling portfolio as well. That is about the customer personas through the IR, so which are the main top IR strategy that we are planning to connect also to the market, of course. And then for OGE, again, the product selling packages, create potencia, and the SOPs, all the standardization about it management, and how to run the product, and also for OGT the same SOPs and IP management, and all the education regarding also how to build capacity in the network and in the customer about interview management, soft skills, CB, etc., etc. All the files will be also in the information hub as the same of the as also the semester review. But yes, I just one key thing that I think that I strongly suggest you to check because you will find there which are the key changes, sorry, that we've been introducing in terms of product management. Either it comes from the very beginning business model, or it comes more on how to of the ongoing product management routine, for example, through SOPs or converting procedures, etc., etc. So this is it for the open space. I know that it was a bit longer than maybe a previous one, but if you notice in the department we have, let's say, 70-60% of the cake of the entity. So I really wanted to not to take the time to give you the general and the holistic perspective of what is happening in each area and in the department. But of course, if you have other doubts, I strongly suggest you to either approach me or either approach each one of the MCVPs. Once again, here in this presentation, you are going to find the contact information for specific doubts regarding one or two or more specific topics that you guys might need. But yes, guys, this is it. So I'm gonna stop recording now, like stop sharing now the screen, and now in case um, I'm gonna also share the output of the presentation of the space in the hub with all the other materials that I was mentioning you that can be very useful. Yes. So I'm gonna check now the chat. No, it's about no, people that was entering and coming. If it's okay, we can have some minutes for questions now. Or if not, you can also either send to us in the also in the sheet in the link that we posted in the applicants group about questions that you can leave specifically regarding an area, department to an MCVP. So I also strongly suggest you to have a look and put your questions there because we are going to be answering all the questions that we are receiving from there. But if not, if someone also has a question right now here, you can do it, and then we can discuss a bit, some minutes, and then that will be all for this first open space. Okay, so good. Okay, anyways, I know it's a lot of information, but I strongly suggest you again to take the time to go through all the reports or the planning tools regarding timeline, promotion strategy, sales, new changes, business models, yes, product management, EP management, IR management, the trackers to analyze which is the current state of the IR operations for each product. All of those things you can find in the hub, and students just take a look at it because they're gonna end up being really helpful for you throughout the whole application process regarding which questions are you going to be answering from the operations department, even if you're gonna apply for operations entirely, or like if you will still need to choose one or two from it. So thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the success in your application process, in your preparation, and you know that you can always approach anyone from the department to ask questions. And I also remind you to not forget to fill also the form that we prepare for you guys, because uh, we will be also answering a lot of questions there. So this is it. Thank you so much. Have a good day, have a good night, regarding where you are. Take care, and once again, wish you all the best success for the upcoming process ahead of you. Take care. Ciao, ciao. Hugs.
Okay.